Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Prep Life Podcast. This is your founder and CEO of Glam Girl Bikini, Amy Enger. And today I'm joined by two fabulous people. First of all, once again in studio, we have Lee Marie Hostetter. Hey, Lee.
Hey.
And we are also joined by our special guest today, Marissa Willmott, who is an IFBB professional and now the head posing coach of Glam Girl Bikini. Welcome to the show,
Hi.
Marissa.
Hi. Thank
Welcome
you for
back, I
having
should
me.
say,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. I
we interviewed, it feels like ages ago that you were on when you had, placed top three at the Olympia Amateur and earned pro status. So a lot has changed since then. So kind of catch our
mhm.
listeners up on just, where you're at right now and kind of, what's going on.
Yeah. So the last time I was on was 2019, like a week after I turned pro.
Wow.
So since then, have taken so since 2019. I think I stepped on stage at my pro debut 2020, I believe.
Mhm.
Actually the
In
Tahoe
Tahoe.
Pro, which I'm doing in 4 weeks again.
Yay.
And then since then, I've started my own business, Empowered Athletics, and then also now, Glam Girl's head posing coach, which has been so much fun.
Yeah. So you have recently, you did a show in Indianapolis,
I
and that
did.
was
Yep.
your kind of like comeback, right? With a new coach. And
Yep.
you're now working with Cash, right?
Yes. Team Cash. Yeah. And he's amazing. Yeah. I took about almost close to 2 years off, just to grow, also with my business, to grow my business as well. And yeah, I came back to Indianapolis, got seventh place, which was awesome. So I was just happy with that. I wanted to be in first call outs. That was my goal. And we did it. So
Yeah, excellent. Did you have any questions so far that are popping up?
So since your last pro show, have you been in an off season? Are you in prep right now? How far out are you?
yeah. So Indianapolis was my coming back to show.
Mhm.
And now I am 4 weeks out from the Tahoe Pro.
Nice.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that year. It was crazy. The stage, we had to have the show outside because it was 2020. And
Yes.
Chris Minez, the promoter, like basically had to say that he was like going to perform a wedding,
Yeah.
was the only way that they would allow us to do it. And I remember JM taking the photos. He wanted it to be at the golden hour. So, I mean, it was right on the golf course. It was gorgeous in
hmm
Tahoe, like right by Lake Tahoe. And
hmm
I
hmm
just remember that the stage was kind of like crooked, wasn't it? Kind of sunk in.
Yeah, so the bodybuilder guys went on before us and they like kind of like you could see the stage bowing in the middle. And not only that, it was freezing outside. Us girls
Yes, it
had to
was
walk
so
with our
cold.
heels like all the way down this huge long hill. You know what? Props to them though. I don't want to complain because he had to put this
Yeah.
all together the day before, told everybody that he was going to get married.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
literally had to
To
say he was going to get
Amazing.
married.
That's
yeah, it was.
dedication as a
And
promoter.
it was my pro show. So it was funny because some of the pros that have been competing for a while were like, oh my goodness, like all this is going on. And like kind of stressful because I think as a pro, like some shows they really take care of you. And me
Yeah.
just coming out as a new pro, I'm like, oh, this is fine. Like I'm used to this. I was in PC before this. Like we're usually shoved in a closet somewhere. Like
Yeah.
I'm fine with this. But yeah, it was definitely hard to pose on the stage. And then the wind was like blowing our hair and like
Yes.
sticking to our lip gloss. But the judges did such an awesome job just trying to like block all of that out. They knew that all of us were under such not the best circumstances to step on stage. It was
Yeah.
hard to get a pump because we were so cold too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, none of us prepared to be outside. And I think it was like 50 degrees.
This
Yeah.
is going to be a totally different
I know that's what
because
I'm so excited for.
yeah, the center podium, they put on productions. I mean,
hmm
like they dress up as like ringleaders
Oh wow.
and they make it like a
Yeah, it's awesome.
circus. Like, I mean, it's crazy. I don't know about, I mean, I had a client doing the Tahoe one and it's just like the venue is gorgeous. And
hmm
so
hmm
where it was supposed to be all that, like you're going to be it's going to be 10 times better, I'm sure. But
Yeah. And not only that, I'm actually going to have 20 of my friends and family there. So this will
oh,
be my
wow.
first pro. Yeah. So I'm only 5 hours
Cool.
away from Tahoe. So like everyone
Awesome.
wants to show out. This is going to be my first pro show that first show ever that my daughter is going to see me on stage. This is going to be this is going to be my first pro show that my grandma and my aunt are both going to see me on stage. And then a lot of my friends first time seeing me on stage. So it's going to be pretty awesome.
So how old's your daughter and how long have you and your husband been married as well?
Yeah, our anniversary is actually next week, and we have been married for 7 years, been together for 11, and my daughter's 11,
Awesome. What day is your anniversary?
the 22nd.
Oh, okay. I was going to say our 20th is on the 17th, but that's pretty
Oh,
close.
okay. Yeah. So
Yep.
my anniversary is on the 22nd, and then my birthday is the 23rd. So the day after.
Well, geez, you got all kinds of celebrations going on.
I know, I know. So we're gonna
Very
celebrate
cool.
in Tahoe after the show.
That's fun. Okay,
Hmm.
so tell our audience like what your feedback was, if you got to talk to anybody at the Indie Super Show and kind of what you're going to do moving forward for your next one.
Yeah, absolutely. So just the two feedback just from the judging aspect was, of course, a little bit more upper outer glutes always. And then I came out for prejudging and my back pose, I was a little too wide in with my arms. So it kind of made me a little bit unbalanced. But Becky did say when I came back for the night show, she saw my posing routine and then looked down at her paper and was like, why did I write that down? So she said I had fixed it, which when I went back and watched the live video of it, because a lot of people sent it to me, I was like, shoot, like I could immediately see it. So we came back, fixed that. Some personal things that me and Cash are going to work on, or we're going to work on a little bit more polished. We weren't super happy with like how my hair looked. So we're going to come with a little bit more of a straighter look with just a little bit of curl. My tan was extremely dark. So I think that kind of flared out a little bit of my lines just because, well, it was raining. So when we ran in, all of us girls had to get resprayed. So
Okay.
we were just super dark on stage. And then we're gonna bring me in just a tad bit leaner, so probably like half a pound to a pound leaner, so he can fill me out just a little bit more to get a little bit more pop. Because we don't necessarily think I need more glute. We just need to come in a little bit tighter, so I have a little bit more pop. So just really simple things, but all in all, extremely happy for my first show back.
Yeah, you looked gorgeous and I
Thank
feel
you.
like you made a ton of improvements. So what was your feedback from Bill
Yeah.
Sevilla at Tahoe? Did you get a chance to talk to him after the Tahoe show in 2020?
Yeah, so feedback has always been the same across the board from every single judge: Bill, Becky, Sandy, Tyler. I just needed to grow proportionately all the way around. And so that's
Okay.
exactly what we did. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so, and honestly, my feedback from Indy was kind of like, you know, this is what we can work on, but just kind of keep showing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
For sure. Do you have any other questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to talk about posing because you are
Okay.
our new head posing coach.
Yes.
So I have a bunch of questions. So since like 2019 when you turned pro, over the years, what trends have you seen in posing change? Does it change a lot in your opinion, or is it more just kind of with individual growth, how your routine has changed or does change with different physiques in different preps, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So are you asking like for me personally, like what has changed?
Kind of you personally, and then
And then,
do you see changes like over the years and over the
mhm.
seasons, just overall trending?
Yeah, absolutely. So with me, I think a lot of it with my posing has just been the confidence, bringing out my confidence a lot more. Holding those poses makes you look more confident instead of rushing. So I've had to learn that, and just honestly practicing. And then what I'm seeing now coming out is a lot more like hand movements, very flowy. Um, as you see, like Laura Lee right now is coming out, and it's almost, I think a lot of our bikini poses now, we're looking at how wellness is posing and how they're coming out. just extremely flowy. Hands are a little bit higher. I think we're kind of trying to take a mix of our old school bikini style and a little bit of wellness I'm seeing mixed in there.
A little bit more of a dramatic flair almost.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. Yeah, I just think posing's just coming over the top a little bit more
Mhm.
now. Mhm.
Yeah, I remember watching Lorelei pose at, was it the Arnold? And her routine was, it was like, it kind of blew me away a little bit. And she was
Yeah.
hinting at something big too.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So I think a lot of people, when you see the top Olympians doing stuff like that, it's gonna trickle down
Yep.
into, the lower, IFBB girls trying to go to Olympia and then also in
Mhm.
PC. So I'm seeing a lot of that.
Yeah, she, for the first time, I think I heard her on her podcast say that she worked with a salsa dancing instructor
Yep.
that kind of helped her with
Yeah.
some dance, kind of made it
Yep.
more dancey. But
Yep.
speaking of that, I think it's a good point to bring up because I know we collaborate with my athletes and like you working with them. And something that I think is super important is that NPC athletes need to understand that there is like a totally different standard for us as amateurs versus IFBB. So
Yes.
you guys have, you have earned that status, like you have the time
Mhm.
allotment, but in NPC, especially at a national show when these are huge and you only have like 10 seconds at
Hmm.
most to perform and get looks. Um, I mean, I guess I'm kind of answering the question already, but like, how can you explain to our audience like why it needs to be so simple? Because like with the judging and all that, like why it should be different, like where's that line and kind of draw that for us.
Yeah, so you kind of said it perfectly as it's us like we've reached that. So we have kind of earned that right to have a little bit more time. So I think with NPC too, there's so many of them as well coming through, like they're pretty big. But yeah, keeping it to that 15 seconds is super important. I don't Me personally, when I see someone taking too long, especially in NPC, I almost hurts them a little
Mhm.
bit and I think the judges see that too because
Mhm.
that is your time. So just like you said, I think with the IFBB, we have earned that right to get that minute long. Some pros are actually longer than a minute. We try to keep it to a minute. Um, and then yeah.
Yeah. So who's your posing coach, by the way? Who do you work with?
So I, in the past, one of the best posing coaches that I have worked with. Right now, I'm not really working with anybody because I'm at that point where I can kind of
Yeah,
fix myself. And then if I need a little bit of help, I have
sure.
worked with Posing by A.
Okay.
So yeah, and then also Kayla too.
Okay.
Um, so just I'll send in little snippets of videos and it's such small tweaks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But now I'm getting to
Yeah.
the point where I can look back at my videos and make adjustments.
Nice.
And then of course I always have my coach there like adjusting me if we need to in front and back poses. But yeah, I have made my whole routine myself and then just kind of get a second eye. But most of the time when I
Yeah, it's
send in videos,
beautiful.
they're like, it looks good. We just got to see it on stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's a big difference when you practice with yourself and then when you're on stage, like when you're under all that pressure
Yeah.
and you have your adrenaline running. Like that's why I tell girls you got to practice every single day because when you get nervous, you're going to forget what you're doing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And kind of going back to your question too about girls with the IFBB, the difference between NPC too, I noticed too a lot of girls try to watch pros and mock what they're doing. And I don't necessarily think that that's the greatest thing either because then they do take longer, they get the flowiness. I've even seen some NPC girls do a walk back and then come back, and like I said, I think sometimes it will hurt you with that judging.
Yeah. Yeah. Because with that large of a number with the amateurs, it's just like they're looking for the flaws more than they are like, and so the more angles
You're
that you
turning, yes.
present, and
Hmm.
I mean, the minimal I think is better because make them
Yes.
wanting more
Mhm.
rather than
Yeah.
less is like what
Yeah.
Sandy always says. But
Absolutely. And I absolutely, you nailed it. Is the longer you're up there, the more they're picking out your flaws. They're not writing down, oh my gosh, she looks good here, here, here. They're
Mhm.
literally picking out your flaws. So
yeah,
again, If you're up there, the longer you're up there, and the same thing goes with the pros, the longer you're up there, the more they have to look at. So we as pros actually don't even have to do a walk back or a walk forward or anything like that. We literally can do come out, do an NPC thing. And then I think, like Sandy said, I think a pro just came out and started doing that. And then it's trickled down, just like the Laura Lee thing. Now things are getting a lot more flashy and dancey and stuff. So it's just evolving over time. But really, like, we can just come out there, hit our front, back, and pose and walk off stage as a pro if we want to.
So what are some practical tips that you have to balance between, for like an NPC competitor, between feeling rushed? Because like you said, once you get up on a stage and you're nervous, I think it can be easy to just rush through poses and not hold them. What's the balance, or some practical tips when you're on stage to balance not rushing through your routine and being, you know, calm and collected, but also not taking too much time?
Yeah. So practicing by yourself, counting to yourself, 1, 2, 3 in your front pose, 1, 2, 3 in your transition, 1, 2, 3 in your back pose, turning around, doing the same thing, kind of counting to yourself and doing that over and over again. And the repetition of doing that, you're going to do it on stage.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that. What are some tips that you have in terms of time allotment for practice? Like, how much time do you dedicate as a pro? Like, when you were trying to go for your pro card, what's the difference? I mean, is there a difference? Did you practice more or less? Like, what are kind of your tips in terms of like something that people can kind of wrap their head around? Because, you know, there's a lot required in prep of like cardio and, you know, there's so many boxes to check.
Yeah.
So tips on that.
Yeah. I think honestly, 15 minutes is plenty a day. And then also sometimes too, practicing when you don't want to practice can almost hurt you too. So if you're practicing the wrong way over and over again because you don't feel like posing, can really throw off too. So making sure you're throwing on music, getting in that mindset of being on stage if you've been on stage before, and posing. I think 15 minutes, you know, daily or every other day. Me as a pro right now, I pose probably, I mean, it's between 15 to 30 minutes, just depending on what I'm trying to do. Also practicing like one thing at a time too. So practicing just your walk, and practice that over and over and over again. Film yourself, record yourself. And then the next day, maybe do, you know, just your front pose, walk out, do your front pose, and kind of practicing in parts and then throwing it all together will help as well. Because again, if you're practicing over and over again and you're practicing the wrong things, it can definitely, you know, and then it's a really hard habit to get out of.
Yeah. So what advice would you give people when like they're in the improvement season and their physique just doesn't look at all like it will when they're on stage and they're stage lean? You know, I always find that it's a lot easier for me to feel confident and like have fun with posing when I am lean, and it's like you can see the lines, but it's almost like cringe for me to try to pose in the improvement season. So I guess I'm asking for myself, but I'm sure other people out there feel the same way or have that same concern. So what is your advice, and what do you do in the improvement season with posing?
Mentally, just knowing that this is not what you're going to look like, just going through the movements and the steps and not necessarily paying attention to your physique at the time. It's just going to be more mental for you to look at yourself that way. But just knowing, just getting, you know, helping your back too, and just staying conditioned. Because I will tell you, if I take like 2 to 3 weeks off of posing, I go back to posing and I'm like gassed. So it's just really trying to keep yourself conditioned more than anything. And then obviously working with a posing coach, once you start getting leaner and leaner and leaner, we're going to adjust that posing anyway. So in reality, you should just think about, I'm just conditioning myself for when I am ready to go.
Yeah. Do you ever do like different angles, or is there stretching techniques? Like, how do you improve your range of motion when it comes to, you know, because it's, I mean, if you've never posed, so any listeners out there that are just getting into this, they kind of understand like this is hard to twist your body this direction. You know, after you've been doing it for years, it's like almost second nature. But what are some tips that you have in just improving that flexibility and range of motion, so that people can twist and kind of keep their belly buttons turned away and all that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So a few of the stretches that I do just to open up my hips is like the butterfly, laying on the ground, stretching out my hips. Also, I practice vacuums and then turning side to side with that vacuum, keeping your hips together. So you're rotating your hips. So a lot of rotation with your upper body and your spine, and then just all the hip flexion and opening up your hips as best as you can. And then also taking a foam roller and putting it on your low back and kind of just laying for your arch, to get
Mhm,
used
the
to for your
anterior
arch too.
pelvic
Cause
tilt.
yeah, so that's what's going to hurt the most.
Mhm.
But those are pretty much, yeah, lots of yoga poses.
Do you use the yoga wheel? Like once you get kind of to a point where the foam roller isn't enough for that anterior pelvic tilt, do you kind of like upgrade to like a bigger yoga wheel and stuff
I,
like that?
yes, but I still use both. I'll
Okay.
do the yoga wheel and the foam roller.
Okay.
Yeah, because the yoga will kind of get my upper back a little bit more than my lower, and then the foam roller will get your lower back better.
Awesome.
What are some
Yeah.
tips for breathing and breath work like on stage so that your stomach doesn't go in and out so much?
Yeah. So vacuums. Like, and practicing vacuums correctly. There's so many people that do them wrong. Like you should be able to hold a vacuum and be able to talk to somebody. So that's going to help with your breathing. You should still it's all about vacuuming.
Mhm.
I'm sure a lot of my clients get tired of telling me that, or me telling them that, but yeah, vacuuming, practicing your breath work while you're vacuuming in, and then holding a conversation. That's what's going to help you on stage.
Would you say, because I know I used to practice vacuumings where I would always just hold my breath and then
Yep.
really hop on
Mm-hmm.
stage, you will knock
Yeah.
out. Do you have any resources or would you just recommend someone work with a coach to learn the proper technique for vacuuming where you can breathe at the same time?
Yeah, you can get with a coach. I have done YouTube videos myself and then just my own practice, but I have a YouTube video that I've done it on myself and I send out to clients.
Well, we'll have to link that in the show notes
Yes,
if you don't mind, or yeah,
yes.
if you want to give us a video, we can put it with this podcast promotion too. Because I just think
Yep,
I think
absolutely.
people don't understand. They think that you have to hollow out your rib cage, which
Mhm.
Hmm.
there's that kind of vacuuming for like old school bodybuilding, but like a bikini vacuum is way different.
Different,
Can
yeah.
you kind of explain like how the transverse abdominis, how it needs to like come into the spine, or how like I don't know, it's hard to verbalize that probably without a video, but
It is,
um
yeah. And then also like a lot of people will do that and then like you said, you kind of like
yeah,
Mhm.
you don't want your rib cage
you hold your
coming out.
breath and you try to pull everything into your rib cage. And then also people when they let out their breath, they're letting out their stomach and just pushing out their stomach. You want to like hold that and then push all your breath out and still keep your core tight and then go again. And I recommend everybody to do this as long as you can. Most people aren't going to be able to get through like 5 or 6 rounds of this if you're doing it properly. But I just tell people to just run it through as many times as you can, probably about, 3 to 5 times, and hold it as long as you possibly can. And then don't push your breath out or push your stomach out. You just kind of slowly do it and keep your stomach in. And you can, I think, watching yourself in a mirror is really helpful too. So you can see your muscles working.
Do you use different positions where when you first start, you're like on your back and then you're quadruped or like standing and holding, and then kind of how do you progressively overload that or recommend to your clients? Like what's a realistic number to be able to hold and like work your way up to if you're working on it every day and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think so yeah, you can do it laying down, which is easiest. You can do it on all fours, and then standing up is going to be more advanced. I would say anywhere between 5 to 10, 15 seconds, probably 5 to 15 seconds. Um, yeah, I would say 5 to 15 seconds of
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
How do you feel about waist training and like direct core work for
Hmm.
tightening the waist?
So The waist trainer is such a touchy subject because I
Mhm.
know some people are all for it, some people are not. I personally do wear one, but I wear a very soft one for working out. And I personally like it for leg days mostly just because I'm not pushing out my abs. It's helping me keep my core tight, which I have seen an improvement with my own body. So I think I know some girls have issues with digestion, maybe shouldn't use them. And it's a personal thing. I think
Mhm.
if they work great for you, you don't have any, it doesn't cause any GI issues, use
Mhm.
it. If not, it's, I think you're okay. As far as ab workouts, yes. So vacuums is one of them. And then just, I don't work any um, my obliques at all because I don't want to thicken my waist. So it's a lot of like hanging leg raises or dead bugs or just regular crunches,
Mhm.
but nothing to do with my obliques because that's going to widen your waist out, which we do
Mhm.
not want in bikini.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so tell us about your kind of like your educational background and just what kind of inspired you to start helping other athletes in the industry and all of that.
So I I just love to, I'm just like a book of knowledge and just love to share my knowledge with everybody. I am a social person by heart anyways, like I'm a Leo, so I just love to be around people all the time. So I think being around everybody in this community, bodybuilding, just brought so much joy to me. And I love to see when people make the necessary changes, even with posing, like how fast some of these girls catch on is like awesome. And when they nail something and posing is extremely hard. So when somebody nails something and they're like super excited about it, it gets me excited. So I think just feeling that passion, just it lets me know that I'm definitely in the right place.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, I want to
Yeah.
talk about just kind of how we're working together too with the company and how that all works. So you've had some of our clients, both of ours actually. Um,
Yeah.
First of all, I just want to say like how good the feedback has been. My clients have absolutely loved you. And, once you've made adjustments, like looking at their pictures and their videos, I'm so pleased with it. And just the feedback in general has been awesome for you. So you've been an awesome addition to our team and just adding that extra layer of care because at our company, we include posing. So we feel like athletes need to be ready head to toe. And, we're all in coaches where we want to make sure that every single detail is there. So with that being said, can you kind of talk about like your experience? And it's been a short amount of time, but kind of like where we're moving forward with this and kind of like where we're going, and all that and how you feel about it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Like it has been so much fun. Like I told you, I was telling my husband, like, I love this. I'm so excited. A lot of the girls have caught on super fast. And it's really nice because they have, you know, been super sweet back as well and just picked up on everything really fast. So future wise, I just hope that we can get more, posing clients and, you know, some in person too, which if people are at shows that I'm going to be doing as well, I would love to pose them in person because I think that's really important as well.
Yeah.
But I am just so excited to work with more girls and, build this
Yeah,
with
you've
you
done
guys.
great. And where are you located? Just so people know, because you do in-person posing
Mm.
as well, where you live, right?
Yeah, so I do in-person posing with my personal clients and my bikini girls as well. And then I am in Oregon, Klamath Falls. It's like a really small community, but we do travel a lot.
Awesome. Yeah, we're hoping to get you out here too, because we just were at the Beastified gym and it just opened, a couple weeks ago and they have like a private posing room and stuff. So hopefully we'll be able to get you out here.
Yeah.
But you've been
Yeah,
doing awesome
absolutely.
with like FaceTime and Zoom with our clients. So we're super appreciative with that. Um, what so we'll put in the link in the description for the podcast, like how they can, even if they're not on Glam Girl or they're not part of your company, they can book posing sessions with you um, online. And then also like anybody that's our client obviously gets that service included as part of their contest prep package. Anything to add on that? Or any questions that you have that
I mean,
you can think of?
just to promote Glam Girl a little
Yeah.
bit, usually companies do charge extra for posing. And so I was
Mhm.
really excited when Amy talked about bringing you on as a head posing coach. But even before that, we all include like weekly, either in person or posing calls with our clients. So, I mean, if you're looking to do a contest prep and you've never done anything before, or you're looking for a coach, we do include that. It's not extra and it's not, I mean, you are
Mhm.
a professional, you do this for your living. It's not like a
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of subpar, like this is really kind of rare for I think teams to include that in. So
Yeah,
I really
Absolutely.
appreciate you coming on the team and doing that with us.
Yeah, and I knew
Yeah.
you provide it, and before we kind of started collaborating, I knew that that was a value that you held dear to your like your team that you're starting
Mhm.
with your company, and so that really hit home to me because I think a lot of people when they look at our pricing too, like they'll be like, "Oh, well, I can get training with this person for way cheaper." But then they don't factor in that they're probably, if they need to pose once a week, it's usually like $50. So you have to add about $200 a month minimum.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
like the average, would you say? Well, I don't even
Yeah.
like because I know
Yeah. I
posing
would
by A is more. It's like 75, isn't it? Or something for a half
Yeah,
an
I was gonna say 50 for 30 minutes is on the lower end. So it's
Yeah.
anywhere between, I've seen some girls charge over $100 for one posing session. And they're not even, so it really depends. It's anywhere between 50 to $100 a posing session for 30 minutes. Yeah,
Yeah.
so the fact that it's included into your stuff, because you have to, like you said, think about, you still have your posing, you have to get another posing coach, your coach personally, and sometimes girls are doing personal training too as well, and that's a lot of, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, and here's another thing that I just want to point out too is that I've had people where they hire a posing coach as a supplemental thing, and then it's like I have to completely fix. They're like, "Oh,
Hmm.
they were only $25 an hour," and blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Okay, now we have to like redo all of this work,
Yeah.
and you are just like enhancing this experience." So I just wanted to point that out too, because
Oh, thank
not
you.
everyone you hire actually knows what they're doing. Um, and depending on the federation, everything's so nuanced. Like when it comes to like MPC versus like an OCB coach or, whatever it is, like those posing, it's critical that you get the exact thing that they're looking
Mhm.
for to turn pro because you do not want to waste your money on something that's not going
Yeah.
to help you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm kind of a fine example of that. The judges are looking for, if you can't pose your body, you're not going to do very well. So having a posing coach, and hiring a posing coach or whatever is so, so important. Just like me, for an example, last weekend, that was my biggest feedback was, hey, you came out, and even me as a posing coach, like I'm still, I make mistakes, but it just shows how important that posing is, and it can push you back placings or push you up placings.
Yeah.
I think too, like that's a really good point. You're a posing coach and a pro, and you're consistently learning because, like, even from prep to prep, your body might be changing a little bit and you might need to adjust things as well. I know Becky had just posted on her Instagram that she consistently sees competitors pose themselves out of first place.
Yes,
It's like
absolutely. Yep.
put in all
Hmm.
that work to get
Yes.
to that
Yeah.
level of leanness only to pose yourself out. So that's a really good point.
Yeah, and that's another thing is you're prepping all your food, you're working out really hard, you're eating, sleeping, and breathing bikini. 15 minutes a day to practice your posing. You got it. You got to do it because that, like you said, it's such a huge factor, and it's one of the hardest things I think as well as posing.
Yeah. And I see, so I'm a student of the sport. Like, I've been doing this for like 13, 14 years, something like that. And I mean, if you look at how bikini started with the stallion pose to now,
Hmm.
it's like that doesn't even, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
So every year posing gets nuanced. And like there was one year that you could do the teapot where, like I did it and it was okay. And then they put the kibosh on that. And it's like every year there's something that it gets more refined and more refined as the
Yeah.
division continues to evolve. And
hmm
so I think it's really important to also like have your butt in the seat and
And watch.
see like, okay, this is what's getting awarded as a pro. So, you know, we need to do these different tweaks here. You know, the comparison round, even especially like you'll see differences in they'll do the step together or the drop step. And do you want to talk a little bit about that, like in terms of like the speed of getting from front to back in a comparison round versus like your individual and stuff like that, like the differences there? Because I think that's something that athletes kind of miss. Sometimes they go like a little too slow to the back, and I don't know. But yeah,
Um, so in your comparison rounds, it might be, oh, can you guys hear
yep, I can hear you.
me? Oh,
Did we lose you? Your
You're
earbuds?
still here.
She
okay.
can't hear
I
us.
think my headphones might have just died. Sorry, guys.
No problem.
Me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. I think just one of them died. Oh, so I think in the comparison rounds, that's a really good question, to be honest. I think that personally, I think it should be the same speed because
Okay.
maybe a little bit slower in your individual, just like turning around just to show that confidence. But when you're lined up and prejudging, probably like, turning around and getting set is really important. So
Yeah.
taking 2 seconds or so, just getting into your pose. Because sometimes girls, especially when I'm posing them, they'll turn around and just sit in that model pose for a while. And it's like, no, hurry up and get back, because you're being judged on your front and your back only. You're not
Right.
being judged necessarily on your transition posing.
Yep.
So I do think that that's important, because you'll kind of see, because especially in PC, they're going really fast,
Mhm.
front, back, front, back, front, back. So when sometimes you'll see girls still trying to get into their front pose, and the judges are already telling you, hey, get into your back pose. So try not to fidget so much in your try not to put so much flair in your judging routine as you are in your individual.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there any other tips that you have for people that, you know, whether it's like the walk to the back curtain, walking forward, being on the diagonal and the view of the judges, like, are there any tips that you can think of that would just be something that somebody that's never been to a show or has not competed, but they're wanting to compete, like what are the big takeaways that they need to be aware of beforehand, would you say? Like if they've
So
never
walk
seen a show or, you know,
if they've ever seen a show before, like why are they walking to the back and why are they walking to the front? Is that
or just like anything that like so a new competitor that is getting ready to compete, like what are some things that like, okay, you need to be aware that this might happen. Like this is a scenario that might happen.
Oh, okay. So yeah, definitely your walk to the back, practice that. Some judges will have you walk to the back, some won't. If you're in the overall, you're 99% going to be walking to the back. Practicing that is really important, because walking to the front and walking to the back is different. When you're walking to the back, you are a little bit slower. You're not turning your hips back and forth. What they're looking for is that movement in your glute. So we try to practice no movements. And then walking to the front is going to you're going to turn around and walk right to the front, and that's going to show your confidence. And that's where you want to keep your glutes high and then kind of smile and show your confidence there. Another thing is when they're switching you around from, place to place, making sure you're angling your body towards the judges as well.
Love it.
That's really important. So always practice that your camera is your head judge, and practice. A lot of girls just practice in the front. So, and depending on where you land when they first call you out, like I'm a W, so I always know that I'm on the last end of the stage every single time. So I have to
Yeah.
practice. When I practice coming out first, I have to practice on that side always, and angling my body towards my front camera. So
And just so people that don't know the sport that well, as a professional, it goes by alphabetical order. So,
oh yeah,
in
I'm
the
sorry,
amateur
NPCs
level, it would be like by your number. So it's
number.
basically like when you sign up for the show, usually like if you signed up early, you're probably going to be on the one side. But yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that
Okay.
for people that
Yeah, yeah,
didn't
yeah.
know.
So Yeah. So just as NPC, practice on both sides, your left, your right, and center, and making sure you're just mirroring that hip, whatever side you pose on, if it's left or right, mirroring that hip towards that front judge, aka your camera.
Perfect. Well, is there anything that you didn't ask that you wanted to ask, or is there any tips or advice that you have that maybe we didn't ask you that you want to share with the audience?
Not really. You guys did a good job. I would just say you can never practice too soon with
Yeah.
posing. That's my biggest tip. Everyone always asks, when should I start posing? And it's like, now. If you're asking, now. Start now. You can never pose, too soon.
Yeah. And I feel like too, that brings up a really good point just to kind of close things out is like, if you have a coach and you're doing check-ins, you need to be practicing your photos, like your progress pictures need to be the correct way. So I would say that's like the
Absolutely.
first thing that you should do is buy your heels, get a posing session so you know where you're taking your progress pictures in those poses correctly.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
it's muscle memory, right?
Absolutely. Muscle memory. Yes, 100%. Because when you're up on stage, you're not going to. A lot of people ask me too, like, can you hear on stage, like what the music and stuff? And I don't know if this is everybody, if it's just me. And I'm like, I don't hear anything but that head judge. Like, it's like a tunnel. And then when I go back and watch my video, I'm like, oh, there's the music, but I can hear the music backstage. And then as soon as I step on stage, like it's like a tunnel and I'm just moving. I'm not thinking about my my posing at all. I'm really not thinking at all. So that's another thing too, is you can really tell when someone's thinking about their posing and when they're just flowing. So that comes with practice as well. Like you said, muscle memory, because even when I pose with girls, when we start adjusting things, you can tell they're thinking about it. So you don't want to have that thinking face on stage. Another really good tip too is when you're practicing your posing, practice your smile.
Yes.
Because when you're really nervous, I promise you will not smile on stage because that's what you practice.
Absolutely.
So good.
I love all of this. So I'm sure everybody's going to want to reach out to you and ask you questions or tag you on their story to tell you how much they appreciated the episode. So how can they find you? And we'll also put that in the show notes as well. But
Yeah. So my main Instagram is just Marissa Renee _ IFBB Pro.
yeah. And we'll put the link to signing up for posing, even if you're not on Glam Girl, you're not with Marissa's company, you can sign up for posing sessions with her and book those. And she has a Calendly link that's so convenient, right?
Yes,
Where
I love it.
they can
Yes.
just, you can look to see what she has available, book your slot, and it's really nice in that way. So if you would like to tag us on your Instagram story, or DM us about future episodes or how we did today, you can go to, you can find us on Instagram at Prep Life Podcast or at Glam Girl Bikini. Thanks for listening, guys.